Some fans thought it would never happen, but Netflix is finally bringing the Sandman to live action. Who is trusted to bring the enigmatic dream to life? And who rounds out the rest of this all-star cast? Watch this before you see the Sandman. Netflix's The Sandman is set to premiere on August 5th, 2022. Considering that the author himself once claimed to have spent 30 years battling against bad adaptations, the fact that this series is so close to release is incredibly encouraging. The series originally entered post-production on July 23, 2021, and then again on April 17, 2022. It's unclear exactly why there are currently two separate periods of post-production, but it was likely to make sure the finished show will truly bring to life Neil Gaiman's vision. The average time it takes for a feature-length film to go from raw footage to the final product is around 6 months to a year. This includes editing, sound mixing, color correction, visual effects, and a host of other processes that need to be completed before the project's release. Because the total runtime of Netflix's The Sandman will undoubtedly be much longer than the average film, it could explain why there were two separate phases. In any case, we can't wait to see the dream finally make it to TV screens on August 5th. Tom Sturridge takes on the role of Dream, a powerful figure also known as Morpheus or the Sandman. Dream is one of the seven Endless, a family of beings who represent different aspects of the universe. He's an immensely powerful character who rules over a kingdom known as the Dreaming.
Death has family, desire, destiny, despair.
Though Sturridge will serve as the lead of the series, he's just one of many familiar faces you'll see in the massive ensemble cast of The Sandman. One of the prominent roles in the series belongs to Kirby Howell-Baptiste, who plays Death in the series. She's most well known for her roles in Killing Eve and The Good Place. Then there's Jenna Coleman, who plays Johanna Constantine, who, in the comics, is the great-great-great-grandmother of John Constantine. The series will reunite Game of Thrones alumni Charles Dance and Gwendolyn Christie. Dance takes over the role of occultist Roderick Burgess, while Christie inhabits the character of Lucifer Morningstar. And the legendary Mark Hamill provides the voice of Mervyn Pumpkinhead. The list of actors is so long it's hard to get into them all, but all told, the cast of The Sandman is filled from top to bottom with some of the most talented and well-known actors out there. Fans will be overjoyed to hear that these beloved characters are in such experienced hands. The story of Netflix's The Sandman will follow the plot of Neil Gaiman's original comic series. At the beginning of the story, Dream is captured by the occultist Roderick Burgess and is held captive for over 70 years. Dream's lengthy absence wreaks havoc across the universe as a whole, and when he finally escapes, he is forced to set out on a lengthy journey to restore order and fix his past mistakes.
Forgive me, sire, the palace, the realm. They are not as you left them.
Gaiman also clarified that the first 10 episodes of the series will cover the first 2 volumes of the comic, Preludes and Nocturnes and The Doll's House. The first volume follows Dream as he reacquires the magical tools that were stolen from him during his imprisonment. The second volume is chiefly concerned with a serial killer convention, subtle machinations from Dream's sibling Desire, and the emergence of a dream vortex, which could spell doom for Sandman's kingdom. Beyond these small details about the plot, information about the series itself remains sparse, though the recently released trailer gives us a few pretty significant clues about what to expect in Netflix's The Sandman. The trailer for The Sandman focuses heavily on Dream and his kingdom of the Dreaming. From what we see in the trailer, it seems like Dream is released from his occult prison when 2 police officers shoot at him and shatter the glass walls that surround him. From there, we watch him return to his kingdom and discover that the Dreaming has turned into a decayed ruin in his absence. We get a brief glimpse of Death, Dream's loyal sister, as well as the villainous John Dee, the latter of whom is holding a ruby that fans will recognize as very important to the plot of the original comic. Finally, we get a brief but chilling shot of a man with bleeding eyes who may be the Corinthian, a malevolent nightmare who escaped the Dreaming during his master's absence. Even though this first trailer is only a teaser for what's to come, we are still able to extract a surprising amount of story from it. In any case, the trailer is certain to get plenty of fans excited for the upcoming series, especially since it's taken so long to see this project actually completed. The star-studded Sandman cast list could even rival Denis Villeneuve's Dune in terms of sheer celebrity wattage. However, it took some time before the names involved in the project were revealed to the world. When they were, they arrived in a gigantic batch that had the internet chattering, for better or for worse. Neil Gaiman wrote the casting announcements, as well as a brief description of the characters and why the chosen actors were right for the roles. Introducing Patton Oswalt as Matthew the Raven, Gaiman disclosed an interesting detail about the actor's casting, explaining how the Sandman team searched for someone who had the voice acting abilities to make the audience invested in such a peculiar character, and was also a fan of the comic book series. Gaiman revealed, "Patton was the first person we asked, and the first person we cast, the day before we pitched The Sandman to Netflix." Considering The Sandman and Lucifer are both Netflix properties featuring the same character, many fans presumed that Tom Ellis would play the devilishly dapper Lord of Hell in Dream's story. However, when the casting news dropped, it was revealed that Game of Thrones actor Gwendolyn Christie had been cast as Lucifer instead. Many people didn't understand why Ellis didn't get the role since he was exceptionally popular as the character and already had an established fan base. This is especially true considering that the Netflix Lucifer series is based on the comic by the same name, which was a direct spin-off of The Sandman. Answering these fan questions on Tumblr, Neil Gaiman addressed the reasons for Ellis's absence from the series. He replied, "The theology and cosmogony of Netflix's Lucifer is a long way from Sandman's. It's inspired by Sandman, but you can't easily retrofit the Lucifer version to get back to Sandman, if you see what I mean. It seemed easier and more fun to have the Sandman version of Lucifer be, well, much closer to the Sandman version of Lucifer." Gaiman once again discussed the issue on his Twitter account, explaining how Ellis's version of the character was too different by the end of the show and far more lovable than the Sandman iteration. In other words, Christie's Lucifer isn't meant to be very nice or affable. Those who've read The Sandman know the series plays an important role in the overall DC universe. It isn't uncommon to see Dream and the others interacting with characters such as Batman or John Constantine. Constantine appears early on in the Sandman comic series when he helps Dream reclaim his magical pouch of dream sand shortly after escaping Burgess's imprisonment. Many fans expected to see the character appearing in the series, perhaps even with Matt Ryan reprising his role as the chain-smoking Hellblazer. However, when the cast was announced, Jenna Coleman was revealed to be portraying Johanna Constantine, with no mention of John in sight. Considering that Coleman's character appears in the Sandman trailer adapting a scene from the comics that starred John, the more rowdy part of the internet got into a tangle, believing that the character had been gender swapped for the Sandman. However, that simply isn't true. Johanna was a character created by Neil Gaiman as a tribute and included in the original Sandman comics. In the comics, she's an ancestor of John and has her own intriguing backstory. In all likelihood, Netflix also probably wasn't able to secure the rights to use John Constantine in this series, since the character is tied up in other DC projects in various stages of production. We'll have to wait and see just how Johanna fits in with the series. Before Desire was even cast, there had been many suggestions about who could play Dream's rebellious sibling on screen. Many fans drew up their dream lists of potential actors for this pivotal part, and some performers decided to put their names in the mix as well. While Twitter might be a platform that's notorious for feeding the outrage machine, it can also open doors and connect people in positive ways. Just ask Mason Alexander Park. As revealed by Neil Gaiman in the cast announcements for The Sandman, Park reached out through Twitter in the early stages of the casting process. They certainly must have impressed Gaiman and the casting agents, since Park got the part. The Sandman has been a long time in the making. Much like its characters, it has gone through various shapes and forms before finally settling on a Netflix series. As soon as the decision was made on what it would be, the casting process for the show became one of the most important parts of the production process. However, this wasn't a cut-and-dry case of approaching the big-name actors they had in mind and auditioning for the rest. Boyd Holbrook revealed to Collider that he had to go through a lengthy auditioning process to secure the role of the Corinthian. He explained, "I read the script, and they were really adamant about everyone auditioning, so I went in. And then I didn't hear anything until probably like September or something like that. Anyways, it was a long process and the conversation just started and they wanted to tape again and they wanted me to meet with Neil and talk about just how the show was going to be done. Boyd Holbrook wasn't the only one who had to endure a long auditioning process. Tom Sturridge is another cast member who didn't walk into the room and get offered the role on the spot. While Sturridge might have an impressive list of credits, having appeared in The Hollow Crown, Sweet Bitter, and Mary Shelley, he still had a long, hard road to travel before being cast in The Sandman. While many actors wanted the role of Dream, there were two legitimate contenders that Sturridge had to battle for the part. According to Collider, Poldark and American Gods actor Tom York and Colin Morgan, who appeared in Merlin and Belfast, were tested for the role and were given serious consideration. Since York had worked on a previous Neil Gaiman adaptation, his fellow candidates for the part of Dream must have been sweating that he'd be the frontrunner. Fortunately for Sturridge, he impressed the right people and got the role in the end.
You know the Sandman. He's a fairy story, Hetty. He's no fairy story. He's back.
While The Sandman is positioned as a dark fantasy series, it does feature many thought-provoking themes, especially about the meaning of life and death. Anyone who has read the comics can attest to this. For example, in The Sandman number 13, Dream and an immortal man known as Hob meet up once every 100 years to discuss humanity, death, and everything in between. It's a thought-provoking series of conversations that makes the reader question many aspects of their existence. During a tour to discuss his career, Gaiman revealed to the audience that episode 6 of The Sandman made him cry. He explained that even though he had written the scene and knew what was going to happen, it hit him hard when he saw it replayed in live action. Perhaps the characters will dive deeper into the themes that will have us all experiencing an existential crisis after watching the show. The 2020 pandemic was a strange time. Not only was there a lot of uncertainty around everything happening in the world, but it also caused millions of people to spend more time at home. Some decided to bake banana bread and experiment on TikTok, while others developed an unhealthy obsession with Netflix's Tiger King series. The production of The Sandman was also impacted by the pandemic. Due to the travel bans and restrictions on in-person interactions, Netflix pushed development timelines and had everyone wondering what would happen next. Neil Gaiman revealed to Entertainment Weekly that Warner Brothers paid Tom Sturridge to not take another role and stay on standby, even though it wasn't certain he would be cast as Dream. Additionally, Netflix decided to make use of the extra time and encouraged the casting team to look at every single audition received. Gaiman explained that he looked at over 1,500 auditions for Dream before the decision to cast Sturridge was finally made. Though fans may have wanted the series to arrive sooner, it seems like this casting was a dream come true. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about The Sandman are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.